Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Monday, the 8th of June. Yes, that's right. We come to you at 7 a.m. every single morning here on New Zealand Sports Radio. We're making it the best way to start your day up to date with all the important sports news. Today, big week for Man City. Titans win after 364 days. Scott Dixon wins opening race of the season, and Nunes makes history. And let's get straight into it with our football news. And as you can hear, bringing up the Belarusian Premier League has had three games overnight. Verbitsk and Bate fought out a 2-2 draw. Belashina lost yet again. This time to Dynamo Minsk 0-4, and Shakhtar beat Energix 1-0. That was a big game for Shakhtar, as that saw them jump to second in the table as Energix dropped down to fourth. It really has been tight at the top of the table. Slutz are now in sixth atop the table, as a Torpedo, Energix and Bate now are up there as well. So it's been a big old fight at the top there for those top places and to make it into those European places. In not so great news, though, Gorodea, as you can see now, have slipped down into those relegation spots. And Dynamo Brest are doing a good job there up in fifth place. Remember, we have a number of games that need to be caught up on because Minsk had that break or missed 2 rounds due to coronavirus in their squad. So we're looking forward to when they can play and catch up to those games. In the Premier League, they've done the latest round of coronavirus testing, and it's the 6th round now, and there were no positive tests from the 1,195 tests that were carried out, which is good. They are testing the teams twice weekly. They are set to resume the season on the 17th of June behind closed doors. So not long now, folks. In Man City, they have their Court of Arbitration Sport appeal against their ban happening this week. They were banned by the UEFA's club financial body control body, and fined them for 30 million euros, saying that it committed serious breaches of the UEFA's financial fair play regulations between 2012 and 2016. Man City obviously deny this. There'll be 3 days of hearings over video conference this week. We're not expecting to hear the result until later in the summer. So that's the European summer. So big one there over in Europe, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm going to hand you over to Ashwin now, who's going to take us through our cricket update.
Good morning, Paul, and good morning to all the viewers and listeners out there. Hope you had an awesome weekend, and we're all back into it. Well, I am anyway. So as mentioned, well, not mentioned, but in the headlines today, cricketers fume over another pay dispute. Australia Cricket Association, the players' union there, has little confidence with the forecasting from Cricket Australia, showing a drop in revenue of almost 50%. The players' union are upset with the lack of details coming out of Cricket Australia, and the ACA seem confused as releases out of Cricket Australia are inconsistent with assurances that the $300 million Indian tour is 9 out of 10 likelihood of going ahead. Cricket Australia have already stood down 200 staff and are asking states to take a 25% cut in grants, a move being resisted by New South Wales and Queensland. So interesting times there in Australian cricket. As I say, I'd have to be on the Australian Cricket Association side of confusion, where when Cricket Australia have been saying about all along that India's coming, and it's going to earn them $300 million or $350 million. In further news, he got mentions on last week's episode of Swinging from the Hip. It's Sir Geoffrey Boycott. He is missing from the BBC commentary team this year. His contract was not renewed at the end of last summer, and at the age of 79, and after a quadruple heart bypass surgery, he would not have been able to work this summer anyway due to restrictions around COVID-19. Boycott will continue to write columns and do analysis for the Telegraph newspaper in the UK, as opposed to Telegraph newspapers around the rest of the world. And former black cap spin bowler has come out with some spin bowling advice. Yes, Jitan Patel has advice for young and up-and-coming spinners to bowl, and bowl some more. Don't just concentrate on your net sessions. After you've done your 8 overs in the nets, carry on and do some more. Spend time to learn and improve yourself, he says, and always ask if you're doing enough bowling. And this observation comes after Patel actually ruffled a few feathers a few years ago when he suggested that the English spinners weren't working hard enough. Now, you have to say that Jitan Patel's onto something. He's had some fantastic success in the county championship over there in the UK. He spent a lot of time over there. And if you want to improve your own spin bowling, join us on Swinging from the Hip this Thursday. We will have Tosif Sati, more commonly known as Taz, back on, this time to talk about leg spin bowling. So join us on New Zealand Sport Radio on Thursday at 8 p.m. for a leg spin masterclass with Taz right here on Swinging from the Hip. And that's our cricket news for today. Paul.
Thank you very much, Ashwin. Not just Taz, but also a regular presenter, Taran Nathila, the black cap leg spinner. So yes, two of them, both of them talking about spinning there. You can't miss out our regular presenter, Ashwin. Jeez.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. How rude of me. Although he keeps playing himself down, doesn't he? And we know how good he is.
Exactly. And move on now. Thank you. Steve's going to take us through our birthdays today.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning, everybody, to the top of what is a new week. In birthdays today, the man they called Ted from Sevens Rugby to Taranaki head coach, and finally a former Silver Fern skipper, and that's where we're starting. Adina Wilson-Nee Harper was born this day, the 8th of June, 1979, is a former New Zealand international netball representative. She debuted for the Silver Ferns in 1999 at 20 years of age and became the team's captain in March 2005. She started her playing career as a shooter, later moving to the midcourt to concentrate on the wing attack position. Wilson, who turns 41 today, captained the Silver Ferns from 2005 to 2007, highlighted by captaining the gold medal-winning Silver Fern side that beat Australia at the 2006 Commonwealth Games. Wilson is the wife of former All Black Jeff Wilson. Moving on, Willie Rickards, born this day, the 8th of June 1984, in Rotorua, is a New Zealand professional rugby union coach for Taranaki in the Mitre 10 Cup, after previously holding the assistant's role. Rickards, who turns 36 today, played provincial rugby for Southland, Taranaki and the Highlanders. Rickards also represented the New Zealand Sevens team between 2006 and 2009. And finally, Sir Graham William Henry, KNZM, born this day, the 8th of June, 1946, is a New Zealand rugby union coach and former head coach of the country's national team, the All Blacks. Henry coached Wales between 1998 and 2002. He also coached the British and Irish Lions on their unsuccessful tour to Australia in 2001. Henry returned to New Zealand, linking up with the Blues before taking over as the All Blacks head coach in 2004. Henry was heavily criticised for following the All Blacks quarterfinal exit at the 2007 Rugby World Cup and was controversially reappointed. He was vindicated, however, when the All Blacks won the 2011 Rugby World Cup and is one of the most successful coaches to have ever coached the All Blacks. On the 1st of November 2011, Henry announced he would be stepping down as the All Black coach of 140 matches in a career that involved a series victory over the touring British and Irish Lions in 2005, Tri-Nations and Rugby One Rugby World Cup title. Obviously, that one is in 2011. The man they call Ted turns 74 today. Quite an interesting career. Started his coaching career at Auckland Grammar, headed across to Kelston Boys, was very successful there, had a world rugby schools team, and then went to the university club where, once again, very successful before he stepped into that Auckland role. And the journey began. There you go, Paul. That's it for birthdays. We'll be back shortly with all the league news and some exciting Sunday games coming right back at you shortly. Paul, if you can unmute yourself. Mr. Bains.
Thank you. Yes, and of course he came back to Auckland where he helped them as a consultant to win the Mitre 10 Cup Championship the other year as well. Talking of rugby, join us this evening at 8 p.m. For the Driving Mall show. Obviously, we'll be looking forward to Super Rugby, Super Rugby Aotearoa, which kicks off this weekend. Joining us will be Dwayne Poliativo, the Samoan international scrum half. So don't miss out on that show this evening at 8 p.m. I'm going to hand you straight back to Stephen, who's going to take us through our league update.
Oh, thank you, Paul. Yeah, plenty of action in league yesterday, starting with the Newcastle Knights, who proved too strong for the Canberra Raiders, 34-18 after leading 16-6 at half-time. In a keenly contested match played at Campbelltown Stadium yesterday. In the first game back since the COVID-19 enforced shutdown, Newcastle fullback Kalen Ponga barely missed a beat. In his side's first half against Canberra, Ponga was at the heart of everything the Knights did right. The number one sent Bradman Best over the whitewash in the opening stages. Ponga skipped past it outside of George Williams, and Curtis Scott allowed Best to charge through a gap and a touchdown. Ponga added the extras, and not content with just setting them up, the fullback soon got in on the act with a 4-pointer of his own. The Raiders responded with a converted try of their own, but it would be a penalty try right at halftime that saw the Knights go in with a 10-point lead. Winger Edrich Lee picked up an early try double for the Knights in the second half, with Bradman Best picking up a second try to go with his first half try, but it would be the display of the Newcastle fullback that would have tongues wagging. It was just a dominant display from Kalen Ponga from start to finish. In total, the fullback finished with 165 running metres, 6 tackle busts, a line break, 3 line break assists, and 3 try assists to go with the 4 goals before a concussion check ended his night prematurely. That final score again, Newcastle 34, Canberra 18. And in the final Sunday game played at Suncorp Stadium between the Gold Coast Titans and the West Tigers, it would be the Titans who would come away with an amazing victory, 28-23, after the sides were locked up 12 apiece at halftime. The Tigers slipped out to a 12-0 lead courtesy of 2 converted tries after 13 minutes, but it would be the Titans who would hit back with 2 converted tries of their own to go into halftime break, all locked up. Like the first half, the Tigers came out of the blocks the fastest when Joey Leilua touched down 2 minutes in the second half, and what people are labelling the try of the year, going through 10 sets of hands and finishing with an inside kick that found Leilua. And when Dave Nofaluma plucked a high kick out of the sky to score out wide with Benji Marshall adding the extras, it would be the Tigers who would lead 22-12 at the 52-minute mark, looking good to actually pull away and take the win. But nobody told the Titans, who needed to hit back, and that's exactly what they did. Forward Keegan Hipgrave, who had come off the bench, propping off his right foot and charging over under the sticks. 22-18 with 20 minutes to go. The Titans completed the comeback when fullback Brian Kelly charged over with 9 minutes to go. Unfortunately, the conversion was astray with 8 minutes to play. A Benji Marshall drop kick for the Tigers looked to have broke the deadlock with 3 minutes to go, but it would be the Titans again. Brian Kelly, who would be the hero, scoring the second try that would give the Titans an amazing victory, having fought their way back into the match, not once but twice, taking the lead for the first time with 2 minutes to go. That final scoreline again, 28-23 to the Titans, and I've got to mention this, it was their first win in 364 days, and what a way to win it, you've got to say. Absolute style. And also, if you check out the Joey Leilua try, absolutely fantastic try. A lot of Hail Mary passes like that, but all those passes seemed to stick. And it was crazy good. Well worth the watch. And of course, tonight, in the final game of the round to be played tonight at Bankstown Stadium, the 2 bottom teams, the Canterbury Bulldogs, take on the St. George Dragons, both sides looking to get their first win on the board in 2020. So kickoff is at 6:05 p.m. New Zealand time. Now, just before I run away, I'm just going to quickly go through the table. Paul might even have the table loaded, or maybe not, but I'll go off the one that I've got here. So leading the comp at the moment is the unbeaten Parramatta Eels. They're the only side that hasn't faced a defeat this year. Then we got the Knights in second place, the Panthers, the Raiders, the Storm, the Roosters, the Cowboys, and the Sea Eagles. So unlucky the other night not to have been given a winning try. They are your top 8, and the Warriors sit down there in 13th place on 2 points. That's all the league for today, but tell you what, listen out on Wednesday night for both Brad and Sanjay, and they will decipher all the action that's coming up in the NRL, as we see the table up there. Really quite interesting. Just something interesting there, Paul, in and around the Warriors. They only have 66. Looks like it might be 42 points they've actually scored. So some real issues in and around try scoring. They've only scored 4 tries this year. So that's a real issue for Steve Kearney and his Chargers, just not getting enough points at the minute. And when you think about it in this competition, they've actually been nilled a couple of times. So worrying times. But like I say, I think both Brad and Sanjay will have this when we see them on New Zealand Sport Radio, 8 p.m. this Wednesday.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Yes, I mean, defensively, with only 66 points given away, that would put them in the top 8. But having only scored 24 points, the Warriors are equal with lowest scorers, the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs have got to play an extra game. So you're right. Yes, scoring has been the problem for the Warriors this season. That they're going to need to sort out. Moving on.
See you tomorrow, everybody.
Moving on then to motor sports news. And Scott Dixon won the opening round of the IndyCar Championship. They're all reorganised schedule means they're just going to miss 2 races. Some venues are not going to be included, but they're just 2 races down on their normal season. It's going to include 3 double headers in that, and a big change to race weekend, because all the practice, qualifying, and the race are all taking place on the same day. So a different challenge for the for the teams on race day, and it did lead to coming over the microphone when the pole sitter was won. His team got told, no high fives, quick, we need to get ready for the next piece. There is no time to celebrate in between. So, but congratulations, Scott Dixon, who qualified second on the table. Second on the grid, and came through to win the race. This is his 47th victory in IndyCars, and his 18th season that he has raced in and won a race, which equals him with AJ Foyt's record. So can he stick around another season and take it to 19 seasons with a win and become the all-time leader in that? Definitely one of the greats of IndyCar racing is our Scott Dixon. So congratulations to him. A couple of yellow flags tightened up the field a couple of times, but he managed to pull away and win it. He had the fastest lap in qualifying, so clearly, in practice, not in qualifying. He gets second fastest qualifying. So clearly, he has got a good car and has come out of lockdown in some very good form. He led for 157 of the 200 laps. Moving over to UFC, and Amanda Nunes had an impressive points victory over her in her fight and she became the first UFC fighter ever to defend 2 championship belts whilst actively holding the titles in both weight classes. So a very impressive win in that featherweight fight over Felicia Spencer. So yes, congratulations to her. Now question marks as to, is there anybody who can stand against her in those 2 divisions? Who will she fight next? But yes, definitely going down as perhaps the greatest female MMA fighter of all time in the UFC. And this was in UFC 250, which was held in Vegas. Yes, they're back there now, being held there. After the fight, though, a man who doesn't like to stay out of the news, and Conor McGregor announced his retirement again from UFC. You'd have thought he could have waited and let Noon have all the spotlight, but no, he decided he would step in and said that he has retired from fighting. So, I mean, there had also been talk that he wanted to do another boxing match, but it looks like that's not going to happen. So, yes, he did retire before, and when the reports he was under investigation for sexual assault, but he says time will tell on that, and those still have got to be got to come to a conclusion. You are now up to date with all the important sports news, so you can start your day the best way. Have a wonderful day, folks. Don't forget, you can download the podcast. Just search for New Zealand Sport Radio on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, or your favourite podcatcher, and you can listen to us on your commute to work or when you're doing gardening or anywhere around the house.